Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are. And welcome to this EuroPACE webinar, Fighting Energy Poverty, Affordable Financing for Sustainable Home Renovation. And in this period where all of us are indeed home, more than most of us have been in years, and also really thinking about the vulnerable in our society, what it means to be a functioning society, what it means to really sacrifice and think about what others need beyond just our own everyday routines. I really feel that this presentation and this topic, which is really getting to the heart of how do you make the renovation industry and the finance industry and indeed the energy transition something that is for not only the strong and the wealthy and those of us who are already well protected, but indeed for the vulnerable and for our neighbors and for the people around us who really need options and you know, a way forward and a financial system which also includes them. So I'm excited to be here today. The topic is indeed appropriate for the time of history we're in. I will be giving a short introduction to basically the EuroPACE project, and then also a little bit what it means to really bring in all in our society and include all in different types of financial metrics. And why is that important in the area of energy efficiency, something that we often consider, you know, a luxury good or something we do for the environment? It is, of course, good for the environment, but it's also good for the people around us and for ourselves. So here are the partners that are in the EuroPACE project. This is indeed a project that has been financed by the European Commission. The Commission is very interested in it precisely because this type of financing model opens up opportunities for a much wider range of customers and of citizens, of European citizens, to benefit from home renovations that not only include improving their house just generally, but also improve the efficiency and the comfort of those homes. So today you'll be hearing a small introduction from myself. Then we will be having enabling finance for low-income households, the EuroPACE model. So I will introduce the model very, very shortly, but Davide will be repeating it and giving more detail. And he indeed is the, if we could say this, is the father of this project and really a huge visionary behind bringing this model to Europe. So I'm really happy that he's able to present with us. Then we have energy poverty and the OLOT pilot, Jorge Rovira, who is really down in the trenches. I'm looking to make this happen for real people in real life situations, and we'll be going over some of their experiences in doing that. And then at the end, we'll be looking forward to having your questions and your answers, and we will be doing our best to answer. Please keep in mind that we're really happy to hear from you anytime, and we will make ourselves available. And so if we don't get all your questions, we'll definitely be happy to reach out afterwards and take them. But please do feel free to write your questions in at any time, and we will take them after. So just a little bit about why is EuroPACE, what is EuroPACE? And again, Davide will go into this in more detail, but to just say, why is it important? It's important for one really simple reason. Normally, when you're going to do a home renovation, the household owners themselves need to take on more debt. So that means that anytime you want to do something in your house, you just have to go further and further into debt, which many of us can't do. And speaking of including everyone, you've basically excluded really a big portion of Europe, if that's the only option. So what EuroPACE does is allow the debt to be put on the house, or onto the taxes or the meter, whichever way. But what it allows it to do, the basic fundamental shift, is that instead of the people in the house going further and further into debt and weakening their financial position, the debt is put onto the house, which means that you can have many more years. And if that family moves, the debt does not move with them. So the energy costs go down, and the cost of, and then they have this tiny, tiny loan on the house or on the bill but is attached to the property. And what that basically does is free up the people from inside the house of needing to personally go into debt. And that has a very powerful knock-on effect when it comes to inclusion, thinking of those who need the extra support, but even normal families. This really opens up the possibility to renovate and improve the efficiency and comfort of their homes. Now, let's take a few minutes to look at why is this important beyond the environmental importance, which is of course a good enough reason all by itself. So fuel poverty is directly attached to of course, becomes worse when your house is just leaking air in every direction. And it is directly attached to physical and mental health issues, challenges. And the reason it is because living in a either boiling hot or a freezing cold, damp house literally undermines your physical health. And in the US, but also in Europe, cancer rates go up. Basically every form of physical illness is exacerbated. Asthma, the instances of depression, etc., increase. So by being able to renovate building stock, not burden the population or the people that live in those buildings with having to take on more personal debt, you really reach those people. So energy efficiency retrofits and low-income housing offers an enduring solution and supports with reduction of fuel poverty. Now, fuel poverty is this kind of thing that we all talk about, but it's extremely real. I know people in the UK who have a choice between eating meat and not having it be literally almost minus degrees in their house, and they're in their 60s. So that's a real choice. If you have elderly people who are having to, wear gloves inside, that means something. And if they didn't live in a house that was like a sieve, they could afford to turn on the heat because the heat would stay in the house. So the same thing, by the way, in Spain. I mean, a couple of thousand people are starting to die in Europe every year from heat, because as the temperatures in the globe increase and the temperature fluctuations become more dramatic, populations that didn't require air conditioning do now, and it's actually a safety issue. So these are topics that are very, very relevant. They're only going to become more relevant, and the energy efficiency, home improvements, inclusion, and looking out for each other and bringing that spirit to the financial industry, who isn't known for thinking those ways, is a powerful tool. It's exciting to see it in Europe. I'm happy to have two people at the front end of this who are really working on this day in, day out, to be able to present to all of you. And I won't go through all these things that energy efficiency does for all of us, because I think I've made my point. And so now I would just like to say to sum up with the fact that energy efficiency, home retrofits, helps with health, comfort, and well-being. There are macro and economic benefits because, crazily enough, school attendance goes up, job attendance goes up. You also have job creation, economic development, workplace productivity increases. It of course helps significantly with energy poverty alleviation, because the homes are much more efficient, and so they maintain whatever you do in them much better, and the air quality is significantly better. And of course it also supports with workforce development in what is becoming one of the most important new growth industries globally, and therefore an excellent direction to be taking new workforce and new people into. So with that, I would just summarize that this type of financing is really exciting because of the fact that it is empowering for all Europeans. It's a very important structure that allows for the energy transition to become something that, or it to be something that is inclusive and empowering for citizens, period, and not simply a few who are able to afford things, but really bring more people in and protect more people. And with that, I will say thank you very much and hand over to Davide, who's really been, you know, the bringing this and doing a lot of the fight to bring this into the European space. So Davide, looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yes, thank you very much, Jessica, for your introduction, and you really set up a very good framework about what's the EuroPACE is about, and the current situation globally, and why we need solutions that are able to address the climate change, starting with our house, and why it is so important to be able to develop instruments that can promote these home renovation in a fair way, so that provide access to these solutions to all the Europeans. Let me share a few words during my presentation about the elephant in the room that we have currently, which of course is the pandemic that we are all living due to the COVID-19, and why this is relevant for this webinar as of today. The fact that half of the world is currently in a lockdown, and we are spending most of the time in our homes is clearly putting under our attention why homes are so important. And we are seeing that homes are shelters. They are becoming more and more a workspace. Like today, most of us is working from home, but also becoming a space for learning and growing, for development, for all our children that are missing schools, or they are developing new forms of schooling. And because, of course, last but not least, homes are our family nest. So it is clear now more than ever that it is fundamental that our households can be healthy, can be safe, can have clean air, can be comfortable, can be sustainable. As we all know, climate change cannot be addressed without reducing the emissions that are related to the residential space. In that regard, also this current pandemic is seeing us that changes in society that were unthinkable until just a few weeks ago now are becoming a reality. And the people is demonstrating lots of resiliency and solidarity. Therefore, we find that this is extremely inspiring when we talk about solutions for climate change, solutions for energy poverty, solutions for addressing the energy transition. If anything, the current situation is demonstrating to us that when we are united in a common purpose, incredible changes and dramatic disruptions can happen in society. So we believe that this is a moment of reflection to think how innovative solutions can be implemented in the home renovation space. Because one thing is certain, it's not necessarily about EuroPACE or other solutions in the market. There's no silver bullet here, but the most important thing is to understand that business as usual is over, and we cannot fight this new situation, regardless if it is a pandemic or a climate change or the social demographic changes that we are living in our times. These issues cannot be fought with the tools and the strategies that we implemented 30, 40, or 50 years ago. We need new instruments. We need a new approach. We need disruption. We need innovation. And that's what the EuroPACE is about. It's about trying to bring on the table a solutions for home renovation that puts together all the elements to try to really spur what is home renovation in a sustainable way and accessible to all Europeans. Here there's just one slide about what is Genie Finance. We are a company that is focused on home renovation programs. We are currently working on a project or portfolio in 4 different European countries. And when it comes to the EuroPACE, this is the formula that we developed. We believe that in order for people to create massive uptake of home renovation and residential building renovation, we need to generate this trust to renovate. And that trust to renovate, which is really a feeling, because all human beings are driven by emotions in their decision making. In order to create that emotion that I have the trust to renovate, we need to provide them 3 elements. The first one, and most important, is the technical assistance. The home renovation is so complex and so hard on people that if we don't provide advice and support through during the whole process about how to renovate an house, people do not feel they are capable to bring ahead a home renovation. The second and most obvious is people need financing. They need the resources to have the possibility to implement their investments in home renovation. Therefore, affordable long-term financing that is accessible to most citizens is really key. And the third but not least is the catalyzer of the whole formula, which is what we call the smart funding, or where we see a strong input from the what is the public-private partnership that we propose with the local administrations, which is creating risk-sharing instruments that reduce the risk profile of financing these investments in home renovation to vulnerable people, where financing is combined with grants and subsidies that have a progressive intensity and in relation to the energy poverty of people that are participating in these programs. And we're really putting together the best of what the public administration can bring on the table and what the private sector can implement. We finally generate this formula of massive uptake of home renovation. When it comes to the EuroPACE project, we base the project on 3 pillars. The first one is we want to be sure that EuroPACE is about all the Europeans. So we did an assessment of the viability of the PACE financing solutions that Jessica before has been explaining. And we did this assessment for all the 28 countries. Like back in 2018-19 was still 28 countries, and to see the viability and basically to design a roadmap of how to deploy this solution in the different countries, starting with the first pilot in Spain, which is the second pillar. So we wanted to learn on the ground how this formula and how this process and how this financing that we have been designing could work. And that's why we selected one city, which is the city of Olot in the north of Catalonia, in one of the most beautiful regions, which is called Garrocha. It's surrounded by volcanoes. It's a very green area. It's an area that is very sensitive to green economy. And we developed this wonderful partnership to lay the ground of our first pilot project of the EuroPACE program that is called Hola Domus, and which then Jorge, that is here in line with us today, will provide you further details. And then we decided that thanks to what we learned from our top-down study and from what we are learning from our pilots in a bottom-up process, we needed to put together this element to support other cities and regions around Spain and around Europe in order to develop their own EuroPACE program. So this was the initial results of the market assessment. We basically verify which were the legal and fiscal conditions for the implementation of a home-based financing that resemble the PACE financing developed in the US. And the second part of the study, we also developed an analysis of the market suitability of seven countries in order to understand where there was best combination of a legal and fiscal condition matched by potential market traction for these innovative solutions. And so we were able to narrow down to 4 countries in Europe where we are starting to offer the EuroPACE solution. These 4 countries are Spain, Portugal, Belgium, and Netherlands. That doesn't mean that the countries that are in yellow are completely excluded. It just means that we are taking contact, we are starting to make the first assessment. In the first stage, we are going to start with the 4 countries that we mentioned before, but then soon after we are more than interested in expanding the program in all the European countries, as you can see in this roadmap. Then when it comes to the market readiness, we evaluate the possibility of applying one of the distinctive elements of PACE financing, which is the capacity through the public authority to attach the financing to the property, and this being proved to be more difficult than what we expected in initial assessment. In Spain, for example, where we are deploying our pilots, we saw that this will be possible only through a law amendment, and therefore for the pilot we have been developing a solution that is a hybrid between what would be PACE-like financing and what it is currently viable in the market. About that, let me mention that the current situation and the economic and fiscal stimulus that most of countries are developing to face the pandemic, the current pandemic, are putting more than ever in evidence that new instruments needs and must be developed in order to keep our economies, to keep our countries from an economic and a social perspective still in good shape. Therefore, innovation is a must. Countries have to start to act boldly. Here we have the approach that we have been using for deploying our first pilot program in Catalonia, starting with the city of Olot. We first established the legal basis of the program. Then we established an entity, which is the entity called Fundación EuroPACE, or EuroPACE Foundation, which is the entity that operates and manages the full service of the EuroPACE program in the pilot city. Then we design the financing platform, or in parallel, we designed the financing platform that is able to provide long-term financing also for vulnerable people and financing that is designed around eco-sustainable home renovation. And finally, in the last quarter of last year, we launched the program, and now we are starting to serve the pipeline that we created with this program. We receive currently almost 100 requests, which converted in 30 plus projects for equivalent to the first million of projects that will be executed. And it is of course unfortunate that the current situation is slowing down or putting in standby the current development. Regarding the managing entity, which is one of the key elements of the program, it is important to understand that we created these entities so that the program can be scaled up and replicated all around the region of Catalonia. And the idea is that this approach can be replicated in other Spanish regions by other local authorities that are interested to work in collaboration with the EuroPACE consortium. The benefit of this structuring is that it doesn't represent any liability for the public administration, so there's no debt consolidation with the public budget, but there is the collaboration with the local administration, hands in hands in communicating with citizens in the development of the program, in the partnership with the local actors, and that creates lots of trust from the citizens that this program is able to deliver and that they can participate in the process. Then with the local administration, we also been defining a package of tax benefits for those homeowners that participate in the program. Thanks to the local collaborations and the structure of the foundation, there's a very clear governance and transparency in how we design and how we manage the program itself. It's this type of entity and structuring is ideal for funneling and managing subsidies and grants from the public administrations or aggregating subsidies and grants that comes from social services, from energy agencies and other actors. And last but not least, it's the managing entity is also in charge of creating a community around the programs, and so that the different actors and stakeholders can exchange best practices, ideas, initiatives, so that we can create really that environment that is strongly postulated by the European Commission in the renovation wave of the EU Green Deal. Then one important innovation that as a Genie Finance we have been developing for the EuroPACE project, and that is at the core of today's presentation, is what we call the Social Guarantee Fund, which is basically a risk-sharing facility that is being designed and created in collaboration with the city of Olot and the foundation EuroPACE, and it gives the possibility to create a risk-sharing structure that can highly reduce the risks that are associated to long-term financing to vulnerable populations or vulnerable collectives like the energy poor consumers, and that therefore it gives us the possibility to use private funding like the one that is being provided to us from the Repsol Foundation in order to financing the home renovation that are originated by the Ola Domus program, also for vulnerable peoples, which is an important innovation. As you know, one of the main risks for energy poor is that their situation is going to get even worse due to climate change and due to the risk to be excluded by home renovation. So the how the Social Guarantee Fund works? There's basically a leverage that is applied to the overall portfolio of loans that are financed. Is a leverage that is currently in a ratio of 1:4. So basically, the local administration that works with us with a Social Guarantee Fund brings the 20% of the amounts that will be financed to the vulnerable collectives, and these 20% is used as a guarantee for the coverage of potential defaults that might occur exclusively in the portfolio of vulnerable loans. In this way, we secure the capacity of the portfolios that we create of home renovation loans. They secure the capacity to serve the investors that bring the funding from in order to finance the home renovation projects, and that at the same time as we bring this security, we are able to secure financing at very competitive conditions, not just in terms of interest rate, but most importantly in terms of duration, because what really impacts people is the monthly installment, the amount of this monthly installment that they have to pay when they go for a home renovation project. So we might finance people even at 0%, but if it's 0% at 5 years, and that represents a 150 euros installment to pay on a monthly basis, there's a vast portion of the population that is not in the condition to serve those 150 euros. And so the most important thing is to be able to develop instruments and risk-sharing facility that can serve people with long-term financing that are affordable for them, so that they can incorporate in their monthly budget, and so that they are able to serve it. Let me close my intervention, because I cannot extend too long, and then I'm more than happy to reply to your questions. In a programs, we have three main participants. One is the managing authority of the one-stop shop, as we can see on the left. Then at the center, we have the local public authority, like in our Ola Domus program is the city of Olot. And then we have the financing or the investment platforms, which is served by Genie Finance, that sign a framework agreement to create and serve programs for eco-sustainable home renovation. The first activity of the one-stop shop is to verify and to train and to select contractors that can be incorporated in the programs. So this creates also training formation, it incentivate job creations, and it creates the guarantees that are given to people that their project will be executed in a timely manner and with the guarantees about the results. So at that point, the program can start to provide assistance and advisory to homeowners to identify their projects and help the homeowners in the selection of the contractors and the people that will execute their projects. At that point, homeowners reach out to the programs to get the financing that they need for the project, and therefore we go for the credit assessment, the underwriting, and contract signing of the amounts that they need to be financed. There is a note that is registered on the property registry in the structure that we have been developing for the Spanish market and for the Ola Domus programs, so that any homeowner can be informed of the loan that is being made for the home renovation programs. And then contractors can start to execute the programs. The financing partners can manage the installments and the payments that are done to contractors. Last payments are done only once that the one-stop shop and homeowners give the green light about the project that being executed. The one-stop shops also take care about potential complaints and issues that there are with the project execution. Homeowners can start to pay the monthly loans, also benefiting from the energy savings from day one, once the project is executed. And in case of default, there's the collaboration with the public authority and with the above mentioned social guarantee fund to manage potential default and credit recovery. So this is why we created our program Ola Domus, which is the first ecosystem renovation pilot in Catalonia. We provide the services that I mentioned to you before that goes around technical support, trusted contractor, affordable financing, and support all along the way. Here, there are a little bit more details about what I told you before. So for time constraints, I go ahead. There's an holistic approach about the measures that can be implemented that goes from energy efficiency measures, accessibility, which is a big issue for homeowners and people and cities in general in Spain, but also building safety. Over 60% of the buildings in Spain are over 40 years old, and so lots of buildings and homes needs also structural intervention for the safety of people that lives inside and for compliance with the building code. And these are things that are eligible for the Ola Domus programs. Here are some characteristics about the financing that we can provide, from 5 to 100K. With 100% of the financing is available, duration up to 15 years. so that we can really create affordable installment that can start as little as from 39 euros per month. And thanks to the Social Guarantee Fund instruments that we described before, we are working with a pilot that now Jorge will explain to you for the vulnerable in the Hola Domus programs, and we are replicating the same mechanism with the Open Gela programs in the Basque Country in collaboration with the Basque government and the Energy Authority for the Basque Country, which are really helping us to bring this solution, to scale up these solutions in another region of Spain. So with this, I will leave to Jorge from UpSocial to explain to you how we're going to have the first experiment out tackling the energy poverty in a lot. And we are more than willing to hear from other cities, from other local authorities and regions, from especially with special focus of Belgium, Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain, about scaling up the EuroPACE initiative around Europe. And there are, I thank you very much. I'm largely beyond my time slot, so we'll be more than happy to listen to your questions in the further session.
Thank you, Davide. And thank you, Jessica, for the introduction. I would say that from the beginning of the consortium of EuroPACE project, we were very interested in investigating if the financing program PACE that was already running in the United States would be as well a good tool for tackling social issues such as energy poverty and the creation of jobs within vulnerable groups. So we included a specific work package and some tasks in this project to understand if this would be an opportunity here in Europe. So taking this into account is that we are running this small prototype within the pilot in the city of Olot, just to know if this would really work. So just to let you know, Olot is a small city in Spain. It's 35,000 inhabitants, and more or less 22% of their households have declared or have documented energy poverty. It's not a, I mean, there are regions with a higher problem in this sense, but this is only the documented energy poverty, and this means the people that have gone to social services and asked for help. But there are more households in the same situation that are not well documented, and this trend is increasing in the past years. This means that the public administration is dedicating a big amount of funding just for paying bills of these people, but not improving their situation, just giving them the money to pay for their energy bills, and this is not solving the problem. So the challenge of this prototype is if the City Council of Olot can tackle energy poverty in a more cost-effective way. So the first step would be to know which is the tenancy of these households, and the first thing that outstands is that 80% of households are tenants. So this means that the landlord, that is the one responsible for paying for retrofitting these households, are not energy poor necessarily. They usually aren't. And on the other hand, they don't have an extra incentive because they are not living in these homes. So they are not being the direct beneficiaries of this improvement of the quality of the house itself. So it is very important to understand this fact because the keys to success of this prototype are to create incentives for people to retrofit their homes. And this means creating incentives to the landlords and incentives to the energy poor. But very important is to understand that the incentives to the landlords are a very important issue at this point. So the goal of the prototype is to assess this incentive package, and we are going to evaluate it from two specific areas: the social area regarding comfort of the people living in the houses and health of these people, and as well from an economic point of view, specifically taking into account which are the energy expenditure of these households and the use of social services cash transfers. The size of the prototype is small. We are not willing to get scientific validation of this prototype, but just some empirical evidence that of what things are working for creating, for incentivizing people to tackle their home renovation. So we are going to work with 15 households, 7 tenants, and 8 homeowners, which is more or less 3% of the universe, considering a universe of the documented energy poor. So, as I told, the ultimate goal is not to have the scientific evidence, but to have some empirical evidence of what works and what not, in order to scale up this pilot further on. So, the definition of the incentive packages are for the landlords. We have defined 2 different types of incentive. One is the subsidizing the 50% of the cost of the home renovation, and this cost is subsidized by the city council of a lot. And the second incentive is to let them give the house to the Borsa de Habitatge, which is the social housing stock, which is a mechanism that allows them not to be involved in the relationship with the tenants, and reducing the risk of non-payments, because the public administration gets responsible for the payment of the rental. And for energy poor homeowners, the subsidized, the incentives are subsidizing 75% of the overall cost of the home renovation, and the other 50% might be financed by the Hola Domus program. Taking advantage of this scheme, financing scheme that Davide was explaining before. In overall, the budget for a one home, it's structured in this way, which is an average investment of, we have estimated an average investment of 12,000 euros, which includes active and passive measures. The most effective or the most efficient measures, probably in an average home, this budget would be higher, but in this profile of houses, we understand that with this investment, it would be sufficient for understand if these incentives are working. And the structure for homeowners with energy poverty, the Ola Domus loan would be 3,000 euros, which is 25%. And this is optional for the owner. The City Council would subsidize 6,000 and Fundación EuroPACE would subsidize the other 25%. And for landlords, the Ola Domus program would be able to finance 50% of this investment, and the other 50% would be funded by the City Council. In this sense, the City Council has already approved a budget within the public budget of 90,000 euros for paying these for these investments and these subsidized. And Fundación EuroPACE is it's funding this 24,000 euros. The framework that we have used for the evaluation, it's both qualitative and quantitative, and we are using indicators in different areas. Specifically in the energy area, we are going to look at consumption profile and the habits. The habits and energy use. This means the use of the house and the contracting profile. From the socioeconomic point of view, we are going to put the focus on how are the aids received by the social services, which is the absolute and relative household expenditure on supplies. And we are going to see as well some parameters take into account health and comfort of the families living in these homes, and focusing on the self-perception of well-being at home, self-perceived health, visit to primary care, and we have joined the efforts of the local hospital of Olot, which are willing to share with us the evolution of the health situation of people within these families during the duration of the pilot. The sources of information are going to be interviews, the discussion groups, energy data of the supplier, and interview with the social workers that are related directly with the families. And we are going to collect data in the beginning of the intervention, and then after 10 months of the intervention. The key actors for the success of this prototype are the intervention of the participation of the City Council, because they are funding this prototype and they are giving legal coverage for the whole project. The social services, because the profile of these families that are the target population of the prototype usually do not know that the opportunities that they have of funding of the projects. So it is the social services that have to go directly, to contact directly to these families and let them know that there is this opportunity, because if not, there would be a high risk that they don't get the information. And another important actor for this assessment is the local hospital, which is willing to participate in the health impact assessment. So the next steps at this point are the launch of the public tender, inviting the applicants to submit their applications, which is ready for being launched, but in the current situation of the of COVID-19, it has been postponed, and we don't know when it's going to be possible to launch it. And then once this is launched, the first step would be the audit the selected homes and budget which are the necessary renovations, and then conduct the home renovations and start the evaluation process. And that's all, and I will be happy to answer any questions that are not clear enough at this point. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So thank you very much for those really good presentations, Davide and Jorge, and exciting to learn about all the different developments that have been going on and the work that's been being done by EuroPACE. We will go 15 minutes over time in order to allow for questions, because indeed there have been quite a few that have been coming through from the audience. I'm bringing those up now. So Davide, if we start with questions that might, and of course, Jorge, feel free to jump in at any time. If we go for this one, what was the reason that 100 applicants became 33 effective projects? And I think I'm going to add that and say 33 effective projects that then turned into, now I believe we're piloting with 15 different houses. Can you just talk through that process a little bit? Davide? I'm not able to hear you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I was waiting for the mic to be open. Well, thank you very much, Jessica, for the question. So of course, it's any process of lead conversion into an actual project. There are some conversions that happen there in the different steps. We consider a lead any expression of interest from people that reach out to the Oladomos programs, and they can reach out showing up directly to the office that is being opened close to the city hall of the Olot municipality, and or of course on the website or by newsletters or over the phone. And so these people get in touch. They need to understand what the program is about, what the service is about, what we can do for them, and also some cases we need to clarify what the program Oladomos is about. And of course, if there's a family that the only things that they are interested in the renovation of their bathroom, that is not an eligible measure, but we don't discard those type of projects at the beginning. We just explain that we can help them if they can implement energy efficiency measures that are eligible for the programs, and that we can reach out certain minimum thresholds. If this type of improvements is in their interest and they want to adhere, then we go ahead in the process. Otherwise, of course, that would be a kind of lead that drops out of the process itself. And then we have normally a first meeting or in-house visit in order to have a preliminary assessment and a diagnosis of what the house or the home can, what are the type of measure that might be viable with the first qualitative interaction. And then at that point, if the clients want to go ahead and they have to sign a contract, and so the real technical assistance and advisory can get started. And so in these 2 or 3 steps, there's there's a dropout, but overall, having at the moment a conversion of 1 to 3 is well above average of other initiatives that we have been studying and observing. So for the moment, that is a positive result, but also we are at the beginning, so we have to see if once the programs gets to more significant numbers, if we are able to maintain a very high conversion rate, or if somehow it will at certain point start to plateau towards more likely conversions that for the initiatives and programs of this type generally goes from a single digit to maximum of 15%. And just to clarify, at the moment we have 30 projects that are running, while the 15 projects that Jorge was mentioning for our prototype on energy poverty, those goes on a separate schedule, because in that case we need to select and we need to go to a public procurement process for selecting the families that will benefit of these initiatives. So the moment that these 15 homes will be selected will be on top of the project that we are already independently running in the Ola Domus program.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a good clarification of that. For Jorge, we have 2 questions. Maybe you can take them, and Davide, I think you may also have something to say about this. We have, does the City Council provide a warranty for the actual work? And then how many homes can this be scaled up to per year? We'll take those questions both at the same time. And
okay. Yeah, yes, Jessica, I'm not sure to have understood the first one. Means is the City Council giving a warranty of
on the work? So the actual,
on the work.
That the savings are you know, as advertised, and that the work is done to a certain quality. How is that actually?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, the idea is the prototype for tackling energy poverty is going to be as well part of the Ola Domus program. This means that the Ola Domus infrastructure of auditors that are going to visit the homes and validating the retrofitting that are going to be approved. It's a work that have to be done before starting the renovation, and this is taking place both for the regular Ola Domus program and the energy poverty prototype. So this warranty is given by the Ola Domus program. And the second question was about the scaling, the number of.
Yeah, how do we scale this?
Okay, the idea of the prototype is just to have this this anecdotal evidence of in order to being able for develop well, a more ambitious pilot in the future, but this depends more on budget restrictions, and well, the point will be here because the number of 15 households in this first prototype is given by these budget restrictions, because it's a highly subsidized prototype. So the restrictions would be from the budget side more than from the technical side. I don't know if Davide would like to add anything.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, and Davide, maybe you can speak to that, because with the subsidy, that is a bit of a, how does that impact the scalability of the program, and do you see that staying? And maybe you had another question that I think is related to that, which is what impact does all of this have on the security of the loans?
Okay, so let me first clarify one thing about the warranty that can be provided for the programs. Just elaborating a little bit on what Jorge has been saying. The program Ola Domus what it does is that in the selection process of contractors is a selection for contractors and professionals that can work and operate within the program, but the appointment of a specific contractor or professional that will work within a specific project in the program is done by the private promoters. In other words, is done by homeowners or the association of homeowners. So in case of a building renovation, is not done by the Ola Domus program. And that is to avoid any potential elements of public procurement, which could create lots of red tape, bureaucracy, slowing down of the program itself. So there's no public procurement in the execution of the works. What the program does is secure that every single homeowner, the participant to the project, has to bring has to accomplish specific requirements and provide specific guarantees, both technical and economical, about their capacity to implement the measures of the project that they are going to execute. And that's why these requirements are progressively stringent, depending if we are talking about a single measure, that's the basic level, or if we are talking about a package, a predefined package of measures. There are 3 packages that are defined in the Ola Domus website that our audience can go to look for. Or if it is for integral home or building renovations, that of course is the highest level of requirements. So all the contractors that works in the project have to provide these guarantees about how they are going to be able to execute the project. And in case of issues that there are with the project, what the Ola Domus program does is it manages these issues with the contractors and has a set of instruments to put under pressure the contractors to fix potential issues that are in the projects. If the contractors during an established period of let me say grace period, they don't fix what is wrong in a certain project, then they get excluded or penalized from the participation in future projects in the Ola Domus program. So that's what we observe from other programs, that this capacity to cure potential issues that there are in the project by the program managers, it is basically a Pareto effect in which 80% of all incidents and problems can be fixed by taking care of the 20% of contractors that are not doing a good job in a certain program. And about the second question about scaling up, there's a few considerations. What we are doing in the EuroPACE wants to demonstrate that innovation, both from the public sector and the private sector, can enable a massive uptake in the home renovation sector. Now, in order for scaling this up, there's the need of putting together resources from different type of actors. So from a financial perspective, what we are doing, thanks to our partnership with the Repsol Foundation, is to demonstrate that private financing and impact investment can be a part of the solutions that can be a catalyzer of channeling capital market funding into home renovation, into eco-sustainable home renovation. And so once we demonstrate that, what we are expecting is that we will get many more financial actors like banks, pension funds, insurance company, multilateral actors that can enter in this market. At the same time, we want to demonstrate that the public administration, that they have to change approach. Just the county of a lot, which is called Garrocha, spends yearly 0.7 millions for paying the bills of the energy poor of the area. If we could channel those funding into investing in getting those homes of the energy poor fixed for the next 10 years, that will represent 7 million that the local administration could put in a social guarantee fund that, with the leverage that we are proposing, will be equivalent to being able to finance over 30 millions of projects in the same period. So the people that won't need any more that type of assistance. So, but we need that type of strong commitments for all the parts, so for these to happen.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So basically what you're saying is you're using the start of an idea, which is to put debt onto the house instead of the individuals, and then you're channeling that the potential that's created through that into freeing up new sources of capital, both in the private sector, but then also in the public sector. And the proof of concept of that then eventually allows for the growth. That's basically your statement, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So listen, I think that really points to, and then just Davide, really quickly in the last few minutes, when you look at that, and this is another question again, when you're looking at countries like Belgium or just spreading across Europe, what would the mechanism be for, now I understand you're motivating in a particular location and it's important to start there, but when you think not only to go wider when it comes to sources of capital, but also just in different regions, what would your vision be for that? And how could that be done?
Well, this is part of what we are evaluating at the moment with local cities and local authorities, and the methodology that we are implementing is that we propose to prospective cities to sign an MOU to set up a working group where the local authority and the EuroPACE consortium led by Gini Finance can set up a working group for evaluating how the EuroPACE approach can be adapted to the idiosyncrasy of a specific European region.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, we signed an MOU already with a couple of regions or cities. We have more prospective cities and regions that are that have these under valuation, and so the idea is to get the first 4 local authorities that sign up with us for this, and so based on the results of this working group, setting up an action plan for the development of a program in their cities, and so being able to pull in and to bring in all the learnings and procedures and tools that we have been developing for the EuroPACE, basically plugging in our toolkit of digital marketing, of technical assistance, of financing in new programs adapted to their own needs, and so to be able to scale up the EuroPACE approach in different regions. And last but not least, of course, then if we are able to reach a certain minimum critical mass, the goal is trying to bring this type of approach to the next level, which will be working out a unique umbrella for the implementation of these type of solutions, also in coordination with national authorities, so that we can be sure that no regions or no cities of the countries in which we are operating get left out from these type of service and offer.
Great. So really using this as a study, and then using the power of having attracted finance and have a proof of concept to really create interest in other countries, other cities, and then grow from that perspective. The only thing I would add to that, just from Julasat's perspective, is that with the amount of capital looking for exactly these kinds of solutions and hoping that they will work, I think you know that there's a really good chance for real success here, and also the cities are searching for ways to help these groups of customers. So between the two, it's an exciting project. We're really happy to have been able to show it and discuss it with all of you here who joined us. There are a few questions that we're not able to answer because we ran out of time, and we will do our best to answer them over the internet. And the other thing is that you are extremely welcome to contact any of us. We'll make sure you have our contact information so that you can continue these conversations bilaterally. Meanwhile, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much, Davide and Jorge, for your presentations and input, and we look forward to being in touch in the future as well. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you thank you to all of you and to all the audience. Thank you. Bye, Jessica. Bye.
Bye.